All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. I have the privilege of being joined today by Coach Ward as we are going to discuss what went wrong for the Las Vegas Raiders during this 2020 NFL season. And Coach, we saw the strong start from the silver and black here in 2020. It looked like they were headed to the postseason. They were right in the mix. Halfway through the campaign, they were looking good. They looked like they were going not only going to be a playoff team, but they were going to do some damage. I mean, they were 6-3, and now they're 7-8. What do you think went wrong for the Raiders?
Oh, man. This is a heavy one, man. Been a Raider fan since 1989. And these last two seasons have been extremely disappointing. Do you know what it feels like to get your hopes all the way up to the top and then they go all the way down to the bottom? I mean, it's really exasperating for any Raider fan. And, you talk to anybody that's a true Raider fan like myself, they'll tell you to feel the same way. But let's get into the how and the why. I'll tell you, let's go with what's not the problem. And I think this narrative has been pushed so hard through ESPN and Fox Sports and all of these guys that are looking for talking points because Jon Gruden is such a galvanizing figure that Derek Carr is somehow an issue. As it stands right now, Derek Carr has 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. If you take those numbers and put them on any other quarterback,
We're not having this conversation.
No, we're not. But because his name is Derek Carr. Now, let me not leave out, because people will put in your comments that he has 8 fumbles. Because the Raider fan base is serious. They're going to come after you. But those 8 fumbles, 3 of them were in that Atlanta game. So let's just, curb the grade. Now, 25 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. He's got a game left, okay, against the Denver Broncos tomorrow. But, he's not the problem with this team. Okay? He's playing at an extremely high level. You pop in the all 22 film, this guy's making reads after reads. He's checking runs. He's checking to the better pass plays. This guy's just playing lights out if you ask me. And if he's on any other team, William, besides the Raiders, we're not talking about him. So we're going to say Derek Carr's not the problem. Let's just take that out the equation, right? And I'm going to go a step further. The offense is not the problem. Up until the last couple of weeks, that offense was top 10. I think it's either 11 or 10 right now. Ranked total offense, yards, and points. I think we're at 10 on both of those. Could be wrong. I'm not looking at numbers, but I'm off my head. 10 or 11 in points and yards per game.
I mean, I look at the Raiders, and I'm not disagreeing with anything that you said, first and foremost. They've had some great moments this year. And I look at them and I say, well, listen, they beat Kansas City at Kansas City in week number 5. That put them at 3-2. And you figure to this point in the year, that's been the only team that has beaten Kansas City. And that was a building block for them. They had their bye week right after that, and I thought that was bad because you figure you had so much momentum that you were looking to build off of, and then of course they came back in week 7 and they were blown out at home by Tampa Bay. But they responded by shutting down Cleveland at Cleveland and won that game. And I thought that was big. I thought that was a litmus test because Cleveland, right now they're still in the mix to be a playoff team this season. But to me, I think the biggest thing was they never recovered after they lost to Kansas City at home in Week 11. And you figure that the Atlanta blowout was right after that. To me, I was very surprised by that because I figured, what can you do to show that you're ready to take the next step as a team? And they regressed after that. And their only win since then has come against the Jets, and that was a gift. If there was ever a gift in NFL history, that was a gift right there. But I mean, you look at it, they faltered against postseason teams. They got blown out at home by Indy in Week 14. Then what was going on last week at home versus Miami? I mean, they had the game won, and then they blew it. But the thing is, it's like they're consistently finding ways to lose games, whereas earlier in the season, they were finding ways to win. And I think one of the other things that really stood out for me, I watched that game in week number 3 when they went on the road and lost to the Patriots. And I figured, okay, the Pats aren't playing well. This is your opportunity to kick them while they're down. And it was the other way around. It was like the Raiders went up there to Foxborough and got dominated. So I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm just looking for somebody to step up and make that play to say, you know what, not on my watch, not on my house, this ain't happening. And after that Kansas City game, we haven't seen it.
Well, the way that team is currently constructed, 60% of the salary cap is spent on the offense. So they try to fix the defense with draft picks. But guess what has to happen when you make draft picks to fix your team? They have to hit. You have to have the right coach, put these kids in the right scheme, has to fit them, and it has to work out correctly. That hasn't worked out like that. John Abrams, the safety we drafted out of Texas A&M, or is it Mississippi State? Sorry, Mississippi State. This guy is the last ranked coverage safety in the entire PFF, in the whole entire NFL. That ain't gonna cut it. All right? Now, the linebackers. The Raiders paid Corey Littleton a ton of money. Corey Littleton got a huge contract. He's been playing terrible. He's not stout versus the run, and what the Raiders tried to sign him to do was to slow down pass catching running backs and tight ends. Hasn't done that either. Nick Kwiatkowski, he's played well, all right, but he was hurt. He tore his shoulder up or separated it in the game versus the Saints. The same game, someone else got hurt. Damon Arnett got hurt, and Damon Arnett broke his hand. So part of the problem with the Raiders is the defense does not have any depth. Once you get past the first 11, you're dealing with like somebody else's fifth string. So let's take that play against Miami, put it in context. I watched the all 22 view of it. Rod Marinelli, anybody knows anything about Rod Marinelli, he's a cover 2 guy. Meaning that's his coverage of choice.
That's his
cover
bread and butter. That's it.
The Raiders were playing cover 3 all season under Paul Gunther. Meaning you had cover 3 players, cover 3 style corners, taller corners that are used to dropping into the deep third. They have more height, more length, but they're not cover 2 guys. Cover 2 guys are normally a little bit quicker. They're used to coming downhill a lot faster. They're normally a little shorter. So you got Arnett over 6 feet. You got Mullins 6'2". Then COVID hit. The Raiders were down 3 safeties. So the safety playing behind Damon Arnett, so he's a rookie. The guy behind him is a second-year corner who was hurt the entire season last year, playing safety. They're in cover 2. You got a 3-by-1 set to the right, meaning the coverage rolls opposite. And if you're on the backside of the cover 2, you have to drop into the deepest man is deeper than the deepest. Damon Arnett passes off Matt Collins, and you should see how fast, if you pop in the tape, you should see how fast Ryan Fitzpatrick recognizes it. He opens up and throws the ball almost immediately. As soon as Damon Arnett stopped his feet, launches the ball. He got that completion. It's funny because if you look at it again, it should have been a touchdown. But because his face mask got grabbed, it's the only reason why that ball didn't get out there a little bit further. Matt Collins probably still running.
Yeah, I mean, like they've had issues on defense at each level all season long, and I mean, you'd have to like be blind to not recognize that. You know what? We know what the Raiders are going to be doing in the 2021 draft. They're going to they're still going to be going on the defensive side of the ball because you figure, aside from the issues that the Raiders have had defensively this year, you know what? In order for you to get out of the AFC West, you got to go through Kansas City. And the thing is, you're not going to outscore Kansas City. You have to limit their opportunities to score. And the thing is like you're not going to do it if A, you don't have guys up front that are going to create a pass rush, and B, guys on the back end that can cover. And I mean, granted, guys can be able to cover, but eventually, the Tyreek Hills of the world are still going to get open. But, you still need guys that are going to go out there and put a challenge on them. So, I mean, that's going to be the thing for Jon Gruden heading into the offseason. Defense, defense, defense.
Well, let's not discredit this one thing. Josh Jacobs is averaging 3.8 yards a carry right now. That's just not going to cut it. Another problem is the red zone offense. Any Raider fan will tell you they hate the red zone play calling. Do you know why the red zone play calling is terrible? It's because the Raiders can't run the ball inside the 5-yard line into the end zone. That's how Jon Gruden coaches his offense. When he gets down there, he wants to be able to punch it in. That's why he's willing to spend draft picks and resources and money on his O-line. Trent Brown played 5 games this year. Really 4 because he went out in the first quarter of the first game with the Saints. He's our people mover. He's the Raiders' people mover. He's the guy that's going to go in there and displace someone in order for you to create that run lane. He doesn't play. The Raiders don't really have anybody else doing anything like that. Richie Incognito hasn't played this year either.
Right.
Those are the 2 people movers. Now, you could say Josh Jacobs is banged up, which he was a little bit, and that could have contributed to him not having as good of a year as he had last year. Last year, he averaged 4.5 yards a carry. But he does have 10 rushing touchdowns, which is still no light feat in itself. And the fact that the Raiders can't run the football as well as it needs to be run for them to be effective is actually a part of the problem too. And not to say, everything's not on the defense, but you have to be able to run the football in Jon Gruden's offense. I remember back when the Raiders had Zach Crockett, they ran the same play when they got inside the 1. And I don't think it got stopped one time.
Zach Crockett was a big dude.
I'm telling you.
They had a big offensive line.
I want to say the play was called Zero Trap, or I forget the full name of it because, Jon Gruden's got 15 names in his plays. But they ran that play. I knew it was coming. When Zach Crockett got in the end zone, he was getting in there. Raiders got in the red zone. Ball's going to Zach Crockett, and then he's doing this. That's it. That was it. But right now, because the Raiders can't run the ball inside the red zone, it's causing more problems for his offense. And I think, it's but so much you can ask Derek Carr to do with what he has. He's got rookie wide receivers, Nelson Aguilar. Of course, you got Darren Waller. But he's drawing 2 and 3 guys in the red zone.
Have you been a big fan, or have you been satisfied with what you've seen from Henry Ruggs as a rookie wide receiver?
So, believe it or not, Henry Ruggs has a great effect on that offense. And if you look at the all-22 view, anytime the Raiders go out there and he's out there and he's running, he's still dictating the coverages. So, meaning, you would think teams will double cover Waller, but they really can't. Because the minute you double cover Waller, you're going to leave Aguilar or Ruggs without safety help over the top. And that's why you see Waller still getting off. That's why he has 100 and some odd catches, because all Jon Gruden does is send Ruggs down the field. He sends Aguilar the opposite way, and then here comes Waller, or here comes Renfro. So he sets those other guys up to get open. But every once in a while, Derek Carr launches one down there just to keep everybody honest, which he's done a good job of this year. I think, everybody's got a problem with him. I don't understand why. I think that kid's phenomenal.
So, it's looking like the Raiders are going to be picking mid-teens for this draft in 2021. But what position do you want to see them go after with that pick?
Believe it or not, we took a corner in the first round this year. And I wouldn't mind another one.
Okay.
I got a name for you. I got a name I'd like to see the Raiders get. But I think if they have a combine this year and he performs well because of his height and his production, I don't think he lasts to the teens. J.C. Horn. You know who his dad is?
Don't tell me Joe Horn.
Joe Horn's his dad.
Okay.
Joe Horn's his dad. I wouldn't love anymore to get Patrick Surtain's kid. That kid's amazing, but he's going to be gone.
Yeah, he's going to be gone.
Yeah. Because I don't see the talent. Here's my thing. Some people want you to draft a guy. They want you to use your draft pick. Oh, pick a quarterback. But who's available? The best teams get the best players when they're picking these guys at the right time. What if Indy didn't have the first pick when Peyton Manning was coming out? What if they had the first pick when Jamarcus Russell was coming out? It's all about who's there when you're picking. You can't force a square peg into a round hole. Take the best player, Well,
I think the Raiders are going to be in a good position because I don't see them winning tomorrow against the Broncos because the game's in Denver. The Broncos have been playing hard. The Broncos really had a chance to beat the Chargers last week. I don't know if you got to see that game. And the Raiders are spiraling. To me, I think they've packed it in. But regardless, I'm saying that they're going to be at a good position because of their draft pick, where they're picking. And what we've seen in the NFL in recent years, you typically see like the same teams for the most part picking in the top 10. And the reason why they pick in the top 10 consistently, because instead of drafting for a need, because typically when you're drafting that early, you have multiple needs. And instead of you picking for a need, you're picking for the best player available. You can't do that if you're picking that high. You have that luxury when you're picking towards the end of the first round. So with that said, the Raiders could find themselves in a situation where they're getting a guy in the teens that really should have been taken like 7th, 8th, or 9th. And if it's a corner or if it's a pass rusher, you know what? They could possibly be in business at that position going forward.
Well, the pass rushers just aren't there this draft. They're just not there. So let's just play that game. Raiders sack leader right now is Max Crosby with 6.5. That's just not going to cut it.
No.
So, I mean, last year he had 10, but now he's getting chipped. They're double teaming him. They're not letting him get to the quarterback anymore. So, okay, Max, you got to get better. You got to get stronger. You got to get, but what are we going to do? The Raiders are going to draft, reach, and take an end or a pass rusher. There's a guy by the name of Zaven Collins, 265-pound outside linebacker out of Tulsa. Pop the tape on this guy, see him catching interceptions. So I don't know if he fits with a 4-3 screen. I think he's actually a 3-4 kind of guy. So I just don't think the player's there. So if the player's not there, you take someone else. You take the next best talent that's available to you at your disposal.
Do you, we saw like bits and pieces of Marcus Mariota this year when Derek Carr got hurt. And of course, when Jon Gruden brought him in, of course, that only added fuel to the fire as far as like, is Jon Gruden completely sold on Derek Carr as his guy? Do you see Marcus Mariota back with the Raiders in 2021?
I do, because I don't think anyone's seen enough out of him to make him a starter. I don't think he leaves to go be a backup anywhere else. And when he played, I was impressed with him getting the team moving. But you could not gloss over the fact that he was missing wide open guys. There was a play that game. Nelson Aguilar runs a deep over route, and he just missed him. It was a touchdown. He just missed him flat out.
I remember the play that you saw.
Flat out missed him. And I'm like, whoa, I don't remember him being this inaccurate. The interception that he threw to Zay Jones, that was his fault. The ball was behind him. All Zay Jones tried to do was just pluck it. Ball goes up in the air, interception. I mean, so... nothing against Mariota. I actually happen to like Mariota. He just does not throw the football well enough for me. And in the red zone, he was missing wide open receivers. And those two rushing touchdowns he had, both times somebody was wide open. So,
now, granted, a lot can change between now because we still, obviously, week 17 is tomorrow. Free agency, the NFL draft. There's always going to be like several injuries in training camp or like week 1 and week 2 for a season that really hinder, what a team can do going forward for that respective year. You look at the way that things are in the AFC this season. Good possibility that we have a team go 11-5 and not make the playoffs, and that's even with this expanded postseason. Do you see the Raiders being able to be in that mix to be one of those 7 teams to get out of the AFC next year?
Yes, it can happen if these guys develop. See, what the Raiders did this season was without their draft picks developing. You got 2 sacks out of Clay Farrell, number 4 overall pick 2 years ago, right? You got 2 interceptions out of Abrams and a ton of blown coverages. You got 20-some-odd receptions out of Ruggs. Damon Arnett does not have an interception, and he's been out constantly with injury after injury. So you got your 4 of the 5 first-round picks, excluding Jacobs, who's produced. You got 17 touchdowns out of him in 2 seasons. But you take Jacobs out the equation, you've gotten almost 0 production out of these draft picks. These guys got to play better. If they just step up and give you somewhat, let's just infuse stats into these guys. 3 interceptions out of Arnett, 7 touchdowns out of Ruggs, even though he has 3 now, 50 or 60 receptions, because he'll never be a high-volume reception player. It's just not in his game. Then what you'll happen to have is those will equal out to wins because you're getting more production out of those draft picks. Those guys have to produce if this team is going to get any better because guess what? The Raiders don't have cap room. They're going to have to cut Trent Brown, Gabe Jackson, and Tyrell Williams. Let's not forget him. He got hurt before the season started.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting offseason, not just for the Raiders, but for a lot of teams for me because, the salary cap is expected to go down because, NFL revenue is down this season. So that's going to hurt a lot of teams, and I think it's going to hurt those teams that have those high-priced quarterbacks, the guys that are making $40 million or more, because those teams obviously are definitely going to have to make some really tough personnel decisions to say, okay, do we keep this guy or do we don't? And then, like you said, like you're talking about the guys that the Raiders might have to walk away from. That's going to be tough because, the offense has, been consistent all season long with the exception of the Atlanta game. So, and the Cleveland game, because of course there was a windstorm out there basically that day, so nobody could do anything.
Yeah.
But the offense has been there, but it's going to be very interesting to see what Gruden and Mayock are going to do. I mean, Gruden's not going anywhere, so I know some people love him or hate him. But the thing is, Gruden ain't going nowhere. He signed a 10-year contract. So, I mean, get accustomed to see him. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do to try to get this turned around. It looked like they were there this year, but the second half of the season, it just hasn't been there.
I mean, oddly enough, I could conceivably see them changing and getting the right defensive coach. And those same guys that look terrible now being middle of the pack defense. The talent is there. I mean, we might need the Raiders might need an interior D lineman of sorts, and maybe one or two. But the talent is there. It's enough talent there to get the job done. And that's probably why everyone's so frustrated. There is enough talent there. And that last play versus the Kansas City Chiefs to lose that game, oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's just such a And it's funny, you watch the kid and I'm like, oh my God, he's not gonna come up. He's not gonna come up. Why did you come up? Like, let him run for 5 yards. He's gonna slide on the floor and somebody's gonna tackle him, and then
It was one of those plays where if you're a defensive coach, you show it to your defensive players and like, okay, don't do this. It was one of those. I remember the play vividly.
Yeah.
And that's Abrams again. I mean, he's blown coverage after coverage back there, and it's hard. But if the Raiders are smart, they'd play him a lot more like how Seattle uses
Jamal Adams?
Yes. I think they're similar skill sets.
Well, I tell you like this, man. It's going to be very interesting, not only for the Raiders, but like I said, a lot of other teams to see how they approach this offseason. But I think they have to find a way to recapture that momentum that they had in the first half of the season, because I was looking at it, especially after the Cleveland game, and I said, you know what? Man, these guys, they look like they have it. They look like they're turning the corner, and it just died. So, we'll see what they end up doing.
As soon as everyone starts to feel good about the team,
the kiss of death.
and not to not bring this up, because any other Raider fan will tell you this. The Raiders were in the same exact position last year. They came to New York to play the Jets. I go to the game, 34-3. Same exact scenario like the Atlanta game. So I don't know. There's some ghosts that got to get exercised over there. And a lot of people will tell you, Jon Gruden also gets in the red zone, and when you pop in the film game after game, he's running the same exact plays, William.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, you could say he lines up in this formation, he's running this play. And if I can figure that out, and I'm just a regular old guy.
These guys in the NFL are definitely figuring it out.
My whole point. They're figuring it out faster than me. So we got to really, the Raiders got to really get it together in terms of just overall approach. But I tell you, Derek Carr's not the problem. If they somehow decide to get rid of him, it'd be a foolish move. And if they trade him, it better be for a first-round pick plus some.
So there you have it, folks. And I want to thank Coach Ward for chiming in. He's been a lifelong fan of the Silver and Black. So, with that said, when you're a diehard fan, you have a different outlook as far as like what you feel your favorite team needs to go and improve on, or what they need to keep doing in order to succeed. And obviously, since the Raiders are going to fall short of making the playoffs here for the 2020 NFL season, they're definitely going to have their work cut out for them, as their offseason is set to begin in about 25 or 26 hours. So, folks, that's going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to thank all of the subscribers out there. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Big time shout out once again to Coach Ward for coming in on this podcast today. And also, if you're on Twitter, you can check me out on 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out and drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, sports fans, my name is William Martin. Take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.